Welcome to Don't Quote Me on That. One day we will have an intro, but today is not that day.
Hello. I'm Kay, and welcome back to Don't Quote Me on That, where we kind of talk about movies. And can I just say, I am so glad to be back. I thought this was going to be like a week-long break, and I was like, you know what, right, life's just a little bit busy right now. Gonna take a quick look, just 1 week off, get back into it. That 1 week very quickly turned into a 3-month break, I believe. So just kind of the podcast equivalent of when you go to take a nap for 30 minutes, and then you wake up and it's the next morning. That's my bad. However, I figured since the break was so long, I thought this would be a good time to reintroduce myself, reintroduce the show, and then we'll get into today's episode. As I said, my name's Kay, and Don't Quote Me on That started as a radio show that I did in college with my best friend, Eleanor, where we just discussed all things media related, so movies, music, TV shows, books, anything pop culture-y that struck our fancy that week, we discussed. In our first episode, we had about 10 to 15 minutes to plan, so we discussed the first Twilight movie because it was the only movie Eleanor and I had both seen and also remembered well enough to talk about. So I think that sets a really good foundation, and it kind of tells you the vibe of what this show is. Eleanor and I graduated college, obviously didn't live together anymore, and so we started doing Don't Quote Me on That as a podcast, I believe, summer of 2020, maybe a little bit earlier, maybe a little bit later. And it was just a good way to, one, carve out some time to talk to each other, but to keep those discussions alive. And even like up to now, I think it forces me to think about media a bit more critically, especially in a time where we see a lot of, doom scrolling and shortened attention spans and brain rot and all of those buzzwords that I do think are turning into a really real problem in society. Because I do the podcast, I feel that I have to spend a little bit more time thinking about media in order to talk about it adequately. And the nice thing is Eleanor and I have very different tastes. We're completely aligned. Like those are the two ends of the spectrum, and we never really exist in the middle. So it was nice to share the different medias we were consuming with each other and kind of get a fresh perspective on it from the other person. So Eleanor is still my semi-regular co-host. You'll see them pop in and out here and there. But that's just a brief little background on Don't Quote Me on That. And I'm really happy to still be doing it. It's been, 6 years since we started as a podcast, longer since we started the radio show. And I think I really enjoy doing it. So I hope you enjoy dissecting some media in a very unique and odd way, because I think that's what we give you here at Don't Quote Me on That. That's the show background. As for me, I'm from Florida. I went to school in Ireland, where I met Eleanor and started doing the show. I lived in Ireland while I was in college. I lived in Slovakia for a couple years. I'm back home in Florida now. I really like to read. I'm trying to read 50 books this year. I read 50 books last year. By the skin of my teeth that I make it to that number, so I'm trying for another 50 now. I love Law & Order. It's my favorite show in the whole world. The original Law & Order. It's the only one I've ever watched. I will not watch any of the spin-offs. I love the Eagles. That's my favorite band. Eleanor and I really like 5 Seconds of Summer. I play water polo. I've got a brother. I think those are all the things that are relevant about me. Sometimes I wonder if you asked younger Kalina what she thought of the life I've lived up to this point, she wouldn't believe it was her that did it, but it is. And I'd like to imagine that specifically 16-year-old Kalina would think I'm pretty cool, which brings us to today's episode, where I'm going to break down some of my favorite media from 2016. A little while ago online, people were throwing it back to 2016, what they looked like, what they were listening to, what they dressed like, just what the general vibe was of that year, because it was a decade ago, which does not sound real. 2026 to me still doesn't sound like a real year, and we're almost halfway through it. So in 2016, I was finishing my junior year, about to start my senior year of high school. I was playing water polo, and those two things kept me pretty busy. School, water polo, go home and be sad sometimes. Not much to report from me personally in 2016, but today we're just going to discuss my top songs and movies of 2016. I wasn't reading too much that year, so just movies and music for this episode. We're going to start with my top 5 songs of 2016, and this is based off of the Billboard, like top 100 songs of 2016. Just scrolled through that and picked out my 5 favorites. Although I remember like a couple years ago, I was looking at my Spotify had created playlists, and it was like your top songs of 2016, your top songs of 2017, just since you've been using the app, what your top songs were every year. And I'm not going to say embarrassingly, because I do stand by this a little bit, but in 2016, I'm pretty sure some of my top songs were off the Hamilton soundtrack. And I am a theater girly. I should have said that earlier. We do talk about musical theater sometimes here on Don't Quote Me on That. But that's really my bread and butter, not so much Eleanor's. And so I am a bit of a theater girly. Hamilton must have come out around then, right? And I stand by it, because I remember one of the songs was... Wait for it. Yeah, wait for it. Basically, every time I was writing an essay, I know I definitely had these songs on my playlist, one of my top songs playlists in college, because when I was writing an essay, hearing about Alexander Hamilton just having this need and ability to write so profoundly and efficiently really helped me finish my 3-page essay, you know? So, shout out Hamilton, shout out musical theater, shout out 2016 Kalina. I could also have my years wrong, so don't quote me on any of that. But what did make the list, I'll go through all of them, and I listened to all of them before recording this, so they're fresh-ish in my mind. We've got Closer by the Chainsmokers and Halsey, Pop Style by Kanye, Drake, and Jay-Z, I Took a Pill in Ibiza, Mike Posner, We Don't Talk Anymore by Charlie Puth and Selena Gomez, and I Know What You Did Last Summer by Shawn Mendes and Camila Cabello. Starting with Closer, I don't really listen to I don't listen to the Chainsmokers. I didn't then, I still don't now. And at the time in 2016, I did not listen to Halsey, but I've always really liked their voice, and I like the direction. I like Halsey's music more now, I think. I'm not necessarily like an active listener or a fan, but definitely quite a few Halsey songs on my playlist. So this song was good. It's on the Billboard 100, so obviously it was popular. I do think it's a little cheesy. I think it's a little bit emblematic of the time. I can't separate this song in the year 2016. I don't think it would be so popular if it came out now. But I do think the Chainsmokers had tapped into something pretty unique with this song. Because if I remember correctly, this was like their first big hit. Again, I don't listen to them, so I don't know what they had put out before, but I remember this was the first time I personally had heard about the Chainsmokers. And it's fun, it's cute, it's simple enough. The Chainsmokers have a song that I really, really love with 5 Seconds of Summer, which is Who Do You Love? Or is it Why Won't You Love Me? Oh, I always forget which one is the Chainsmokers one, but one of those two. Love that song. And speaking of 5 Seconds of Summer collabs that I ignored the collab on, Lie to Me with Julia Michaels is not the superior version of Lie to Me. The best version of Lie to Me is the one where they just sing by themselves. But I just in general don't like when there's a feature on a song and the artist, like the featured artist, doesn't have a verse to themselves or doesn't really bring anything new other than just saying something that was already written. Because why are you here? I want to hear you. Also unrelated, that's why I don't like the Noah Kahan. That man's name is Noah Kahan. I know he says it's Noah Kahan. There's too many A's in his name for it to be that. Anyway, don't like the Noah Kahan Hozier collab that he did when he redid his album with a featured artist on every song, because why am I not listening to Hozier sing by himself at any point in time? That's what I came here for. None of that's related to 2016. This is all many, many years later. What is related to 2016 is the next song on my list, and that is Pop Style by Kanye, Drake, and Jay-Z, which I don't think we're fans of any of those guys right now, but 2016 was very much the year of Drake. He was in his bag in that year, and I do think any song Drake is featured on is a banger, unfortunately. The ones coming to mind right now is Walk It Like I Talk It, or Walk It, Talk It. Something about him being featured on a song means it's going to be a hit, means it's going to be a song of the summer. Pop Style is no exception. Kanye has had a tumultuous past, to say the least. And whether those reasons for his recent behavior or not so recent behavior are valid or not doesn't really excuse the behavior. Man knows how to write a song. Man knows how to put together a song. Okay. I am of the camp that early Kanye is the best Kanye, but he hadn't quite like dropped off or wasn't too far removed from his early years, I think, at this point. I really like pop style. And Jay-Z's another one who I won't say every song he features on is a hit, but he does have a very engaging presence in music, which is, why he's Jay-Z and married to Beyonce. Next on the list, I've got I Took a Pill in Ibiza by Mr. Mike Posner. I love this song. I know the version that was very popular, and I didn't write down which version was on the Billboard 100, but there was the Sieb remix, was the very, very popular version from my recollection of this song. I like the original, the acoustic. I listen to that more often. I have it on my playlist now, and I know he's recently updated it. Like, it's the original I Took a Pill in Ibiza, so I think it's like I Came Back from Ibiza is the new version. Anyway, he's like healed. He's got a family. He's like trying to start a family. He's not, throwing his life away to drugs, which is really, really good. And I think I like that song even more now because of it. I think when you listen to the Sieb remix, you don't really get the emotional aspect of it and the depth of it. But when you listen to the acoustic, the original version, it's very clear, like, this is a man that's struggling but doesn't want to admit to himself that he's struggling. And it's a shockingly beautiful song despite the initial sound and appearance. It's really important to, I think, admit to yourself where your flaws are, even if it's something you have to do, a decade later, years and years later. Took a Pill in Ibiza, Mike Posner. Next on my list, I've got We Don't Talk Anymore, Charlie Puth, Selena Gomez. I was a Selena Gomez girl. Out of all the Disney girls, she was the one I was 10 toes down for, okay? We had The Wizards of Waverly Place. We had Princess Protection Program. Selena Gomez in the Scene. Another Cinderella Story. Another Cinderella Story is the best movie in the Cinderella Story franchise. I like the OG. Love Hilary Duff. Love Chad Michael Murray. Waiting for You is like waiting for a rain in this drought. Useless and disappointing. Iconic. However, the mirror dancing scene in Another Cinderella Story alone clears every other movie in the franchise. Okay? You're the new classic. You're the new PYT. Tell me something I don't know is Selena Gomez's best song, and I will stand by that. And then I think the third one in the franchise has got like Lucy Hale in it or something. Barely remember it. Clearly not that good. But what we're talking about is not that. We're talking about We Don't Talk Anymore by Mr. Puth and Miss Gomez. Charlie Puth, I think we don't like anymore. I don't remember why. I saw a video someone made recently on YouTube about him starting an AI music course. It was like, I took Charlie Puth's AI music course, so you don't have to. So don't love that. However, the man's got perfect pitch and he does know how to make a banger. This is hardly Charlie Puth's best song though. I really like this collab, but I love like How Long, Charlie Puth, Attention, Charlie Puth. Those songs are really, really good. But for 2016, We Don't Talk Anymore. I like a collab when you're getting two perspectives of the same scenario, which is what we're doing here. The last song on my list for my top songs of 2016 is I Know What You Did Last Summer by Mr. Shawn Mendes and Miss Camila Cabello. I think this was around the time they were rumored to be dating, or they had just been confirmed to be dating. Great song. I think people were worried because it's like a breakup song about knowing your partner's cheating on you. Again, I like hearing two sides of the same story with Camila Cabello playing the cheating girlfriend. It's dark and gritty and just something I didn't expect from Shawn Mendes. I was not a Shawn Mendes fan. I don't think I was ever like a fan of any pop boy, to be honest. Like, I love Justin Bieber in the way everyone loves Justin Bieber. Which, while we're on the topic of Justin Bieber, I want to talk about Coachella, because I saw a lot of critiques and discussions around his Coachella set, that Weekend One set, and how he's the highest paid artist at Coachella, and if a woman did this, like, no one would let it fly, because basically he just sat on stage with a laptop and was singing karaoke with old music videos of himself. And I agree, if a woman did that, it would not fly. He should put more effort in, because it's Coachella, he's the highest paid artist for his fans. But at the same time, the fact that Justin Bieber is still alive and healthy enough and well enough to perform these songs and return to music and make this sort of effort and be a functioning member of society, I think is impressive. I don't think children should be famous. I don't think anyone, but especially not children, should experience the level of fame at the rapid speed he experienced it. And I like spoken word sometimes, button poetry, shout out. And a poet I like, Javon Johnson, has a poem called A Letter from Michael Jackson to Justin Bieber. And initially you hear the poem and you think it's about how dare you try and take my place, because people were calling Justin Bieber the new king of pop, this and this. How dare you try and take my place? But it turns into this like commiseration almost of Michael Jackson saying, I know what it's like to be famous at that young, and you have no choice in it, and you do whatever you can to try and hold on to that sense of power and independence you think you're getting from this, but all you're doing is just being exploited and being used for your talents. And it's a little sad, but at the end of the day, yes, Justin Bieber could have put more effort in, but also nobody else is Justin Bieber. No one else could get away with that because they're not Justin Bieber. And I don't remember why I brought him up. What were we talking about? I know what you did last summer. Shawn Mendes. Shawn Mendes has a good song that came out about the same time as the 5 Seconds of Summer song. Not to keep bringing them up. But his song is like, woke up in Japan. Their song is Woke Up in Japan. He's got a song about waking up in Japan. Everyone's like, oh my god, Callum Hood and Shawn Mendes are in a relationship. And I was like, I don't know how we got here. But okay, that'd be kind of funny if it was true, right? But I know what you did last summer with Miss Camila Cabello. I think they're still popular. They don't really pop up on like my end of the internet, but I see Shawn Mendes every once in a while. Or when I see or hear from Shawn Mendes, he's going on tour. Camila Cabello, I don't know what she's up to. Are they together? I don't know. I don't know anything about them. I Know What You Did Last Summer is a good song, though. I think those are all the songs on my list. I have no honorable mentions because I don't remember anything that happened in 2016. So without this list, I am lost. Next up, we're going to discuss my top movies of 2016. I've only got 3 of them because I don't watch a lot of movies, unfortunately. And when I do, they're just like, just rewatch the same Bollywood movie over and over again, essentially, or Audrey Hepburn movie over and over again. And you know what? If it ain't broke, don't fix it, okay? First top movie of 2016, however, was Captain America Civil War. I was discussing Civil War recently because I think the creators of that movie and Captain America installations of the Avengers film specifically really dropped the ball on exploring Steve Rogers' journey with grief and loss and isolation and loneliness. For all intents and purposes, Steve Rogers went to sleep thinking he was never going to wake up again. Wakes up decades later in a world that he does not understand, that is not accommodating him, is not built for him, and every single person he has ever known or loved is dead. And he now has to mourn all of them at once. On top of this, because at the end of the day, Steve Rogers is nothing but a good man who wants to do the right thing, he's taking up this mantle to protect this world that he doesn't understand, because at the end of the day, there's people in it that deserve life and love and health and happiness. Someone's coming to kill him because Steve Rogers can't catch a break. The person coming to kill him is familiar in a way that he wasn't expecting to feel, given the asleep in the ice for several decades. The person coming to kill him, whose sole purpose in life is to murder him, is revealed to be his childhood best friend that he dragged to war, or that he went to war with, and dragged around the country on his tour of inspiring America and defeating the Nazis. And he has to like come to terms with, not only is his childhood best friend not dead and he doesn't have to mourn him anymore, but oh, actually, just kidding, I do have to mourn him because he's not the person that he was and he's trying to kill me. And actually, I know I'm a good man who's trying to do the right thing and like just wants what's best for everybody. But for once in my life, I'm going to be selfish and protect my friend and try to save him versus saving all of you. And they were just like, haha, here's Avengers Endgame. So, all of that aside, good movie. I like Captain America. Like I said, at the end of the day, he's just a guy who wants to do the right thing. In the first Captain America movie, he says, I don't like bullies, I don't care where they're from. So he's just a principled man, and he's just sweet, and he just happens to be big and beefy because he had the heart to justify that sort of strength and power. If Eleanor were here, Eleanor would start talking about Sebastian Stan and how cute he is, and blah 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 blah. Bucky Barnes. We have different types, right? I do like Sebastian Stan, however. I haven't seen that movie he did, Pam and Tommy, with, oh, that girl. She was in Cinderella, and she was in Baby Driver, and whatever her name is, I want to see it because it looked really, really good. Sebastian Stan was also Once Upon a Time, which is just a trip of a show. And with that, I think I've gotten off topic enough times on that movie, so we're going to move on to the next one, which is Now You See Me 2. This is extra special because I finally watched Now You See Me, Now You Don't, so the third installment in the franchise, on a plane recently, and I enjoyed it. Now You See Me 2 unfortunately falls into the curse of the sequel, or like the second movie, being the worst in a series. At the same time, though, when I think about it after seeing Now You See Me, Now You Don't, Now You See Me 2 doesn't even feel like it's in the same realm. They brought in a new character, and it feels like its own movie. It feels like Now You See Me 1, Now You See Me 3 are connected, and Now You See Me 2 is just like this slightly tangentially related cousin, you know? But it's good, it's cute. I like magic movies. I like Dave Franco. I like a ragtag group of misfits, found family. Now You See Me checks all of those. And it's fun to root for the quote-unquote bad guy doing absolutely absurd, ridiculous, not at all realistic things and triumphing over the real bad guy. The movies give you commentary on wealth and greed and inequality and exploitation, and magic is sexy. I said it. And Dave Franco's the better Franco brother. The last movie on my list is a romance. I'm not a big romance girl, but this is perhaps my favorite romance movie of all time, or top 3 for sure, and that is Me Before You. I haven't read the book. I am more of a read the book before seeing the movie kind of girl, but didn't realize this was a book when this came out, and I watched it. I think this is the perfect love story, because I don't think that love solves all your problems. I feel like in a lot of romances, rom-coms, things of that nature, romance is the end-all be-all, and every issue you've ever had in your life is washed away because you fall in love or someone fell in love with you. That's not the case in Me Before You. I think it's really realistic that someone who was active and had a life of a large, fulfilling life based in movement and exploration and seeing the world, who now can't do anything by himself, maybe doesn't love his life anymore. I don't think that's an unreasonable thing or a reasonable series of events to occur. All of that said, they were very sweet, they were very believable. It was a little bit of, grumpy sunshine, and not quite enemies to lovers, but like disgruntled or reluctant friends to lovers. She told him about those bumblebee tights one time, and he remembered and got them for her. I love anything Sam Claflin does. Emilia Clarke is just so expressive, especially when she's showing joy, that you are just joyful for her. So I think it was a really good, really well done acting-wise as well. And this just popped in my mind. 2016 was probably around the time I was watching Doctor Who the most. Not that I watch a lot of Doctor Who, but I was probably consuming the most Doctor Who I had in my life at that time, around that time. So the girl that played Emilia Clarke's sister was in Doctor Who. Every time I tell my folks I recognize someone from Doctor Who when we're watching something, they're like, wasn't everyone in Doctor Who? And like, yeah, it's just the British equivalent of Law and Order. It's like when you're watching an old Law and Order episode and you're like, oh, there's Jeremy Allen White playing a troubled kid, you know? What are we gonna do? Maybe I should put Me Before You, the book, on my TBR for the year. I keep thinking about it every time I see the movie. It's also one of the few movies in general, but especially romance movies, that I will return to and rewatch, despite the devastation. And I feel like if I read it, it's gonna hurt more. But maybe because I know the ending, it won't be so bad. We'll see. I'll keep you all updated. Those are my top medias from 2016. Can't believe that was a decade ago. I could never imagine what life would be like 10 years later, but it's a very good life and I'm very happy to have it. And I'm happy and very grateful for all of you who tuned in. I will try to be more consistent and more regular. This felt a little bit This felt a little bit painful. There's some growing pains. Got to get back in the routine of this. But thank you so much for tuning in. You can find Don't Quote Me on That wherever you get podcasts. Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud. And on social media, we're on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. All of that will be in the description box below. Please feel free to comment or message me anything you'd like to hear me talk about. I'm always looking for new media to consume and diversify my palette a little bit, but especially in the world of algorithms, I only get shown stuff that's similar to what I'm listening to and watching already. So anything new, fresh, unusual, things you think I wouldn't normally come across, I'd love to check out. And I appreciate you checking this out. I have been Kay. This has been Don't Quote Me on That. We'll be better next time. Thanks for listening to Don't Quote Me on That. One day we will have an outro, but it's not today.